Good morning. Welcome to class. Nice to see you all here today. Let's settle into a comfortable seat and begin our early yoga practice. As you get comfortable, really feel into your sit bones and your roots. And from these roots, feel your pelvis seated and bring the pot of your pelvis upright for the length of your spine to grow out of. And let your head flower skyward at the top of the stem of your spine. And tune in to your breath. And as you breathe today, notice if you feel connected to your roots, if you can breathe into a connection with the ground. If you can sense your own earthiness. And then breathe up the length of your spine. And as you do, notice if you can feel the waters in your body. And notice if you can feel sky touch your skin all around your torso, your limbs, your hands and feet. We invite ourselves into awareness of the body. The elements inside and outside our body. Feel into the body and notice where you feel space and where you feel density, where you feel openness, and where you feel compression. And invite a balance of connection to earth, openness to sky, awareness of the fluids that fill you. And then inward, feel into any fire inside. Perhaps it moves your digestion. Perhaps there's a fire in the mind or the heart. Is this fire energy balanced inside of you? And now notice your right nostril. And as you breathe in, feel the air enter the right nostril. This is the Pingala channel, the Sun channel, the Surya channel. The channel that draws energy from the sunny side of the mountain, the south-facing aspect. Feel the breath enter the Pingala nadi, move through the passage, circulate through the chakras, through the Sushumna. Now feel your left nostril, the Ida channel, the moon side, the cool side, the shady side of the mountain, the north-facing aspect. And invite your awareness of the energy flowing through the Ida. Knowing like a helix it passes the Pingala, passing through each chakra at the Sushumna, the main river of energy through your body. And visualize this helix that you're breathing into. These three main energy rivers. And as you breathe through the left and you breathe through the right, you balance these sun and moon energies. These heat and cool energies. Now slowly lift your right hand, not mirroring you, and bring your index and ring middle fingers into your palm, and bring your thumb and ring finger gently to the outside of your nostrils until you feel the flare. And very gently with your thumb, close your right nostril, and then inhale smoothly through the left. When you reach the top of the inhale, very gently close the left flare and inhale right. Exhale right. And then you'll inhale right as well. And at the top of your inhale, you'll switch again and exhale left. Breathing smooth and easy, you'll inhale left. And you'll continue to switch at the tops of your inhales. Exhaling one side. Inhaling that same side. Gently switching, just putting enough pressure on the flare of the nostril to close it. Let your hand come back to the head instead of bringing the head forward to the hand. Let the arm relax beneath you as much as possible. Take deep three-dimensional breaths without demanding too large a breath. Yes, it stretches you, but it doesn't make you tense. Breathe smooth and slow and rhythmically. Always switching at the top of your inhale. And next time you inhale through your right nostril, release your hands and try to continue exhaling through the left nostril. And with your mind and concentration, inhaling then through the left nostril and continuing, switching at the top of your inhales. And even if you feel like it doesn't work without your fingers, concentrate and try to guide the breath through your nostrils. Balance your heart over your pelvis, your palate over your heart, so that the breath can move easily through the Sushumnas, through the Ida and Pingala channel, through each chakra, helping you to balance the energy circulating through your body. Mr. Iyengar said, balance is the state of the present, the here and now. If you balance in the present, you are living in eternity. Next time you breathe in through your right nostril, exhale through both, and inhale through both. Let's inhale our hands to our hearts. And let's see today if we can balance ourselves in the present, in the here and now. A part of eternity. Namaste. Okay, let's come to standing. And as you come into your mountain pose, Find your balance front body to back by gently swaying towards the toes and swaying towards the heels. And then ground your feet to earth. And gently sway to the right and sway to the left. Coming back to center and grounding yourself to earth. Lift the toes and feel into the four corners of your feet, the three arches of your feet, and relax the toes. Or root the four corners of your feet earthward, toes relaxed. A lift to the arches as you balance the inner and outer heel, the big toe and pinky toe ball mounts. Now feel up your calves to your knees. And make sure you're not throwing the knee bones back at the knee joint, hyperextending the knees. Balance the femur over the tibia. And feel up the large femur bone of the leg to the pelvis. And balance the pelvis over the femur bones, not letting the bucket of the pelvis pour forward, not forcing it to pour back as you take the hips forward, but finding neutral where the pelvis sits upright over the femurs and the spine can lengthen skyward. We have a tendency to roll forward in our culture over computers or phones or gardens or small children. Lift your heart. Broaden across the collarbones, shoulder blades broad on the back. And feel as your neck forward of the rest of your spine. Draw back at that floating bone in your neck crease, the hyoid, gently lifting the back base of the skull. And let your palate rest over your heart, rest over your pelvis. Come back to your three-dimensional breath, filling the whole circumference of the torso. Inviting breath evenly into the Ida and the Pingala channels. And as you rest here in postural balance or moving in that direction, ask yourself, what balance can I bring into the rest of my life today? How will I balance my day between work and play, seriousness and laughter, hope and concern? How will you bring balance to your being by nurturing yourself in ways that are needed? Let's inhale and reach the arms skyward and reach left arm away from left foot, pressing into the ground, and reach right arm away from right foot and pulse the two sides of the body, stretching your myofascia. And so even if you have asymmetries in your physical form, we begin to open, to stretch, to move towards harmony in the body. And see if you can balance efforts. In yoga, the tapas, the burning desire to grow and transform and change, with santosha, contentment. Inside the body you have now, the being you are now. Stretch both feet evenly into earth and reach the hands skyward. And imagine you're stretching long arms and head into the stars, feet rooted to the center of the earth. And exhale, release your arms open into cactus pose and feel the shoulder blades on your back body and integrate the arm bones into the torso and step the feet wide and turn the feet out and bend the knees over your second metatarsals, goddess pose. Feel still into balancing your pressure, four corners of the feet grounding, and exhale your pinkies towards one another, cat curl the spine, and inhale, lift the heart, press the palms out, and exhale, pinkies face you, or palms face you, pinkies come in, and inhale, lift the heart and stretch. Move the spine like you're moving through cat and cow. And feel into the movement side to side. The pressure from left hip into left foot, right hip into right foot. Balance the two sides of the pelvis, left to right, and balance the pelvis front to back. Arms out, heart lifted. Take a few fluid breaths right into the heart center. And then exhale, pinkies together, cat curling the spine. Breathe into the back of the heart. Opening the front of the heart again, lifting it, breathing into the front of the heart. Breathe into your own unique individuality, expression in the world. And exhaling, pinkies together, breathe into the back of the heart, your connection to community, your awareness of your support system, your loved ones, the natural world. And open the arms and release, and lengthening the legs. Take the right heel back, turn the left foot out, star pose. Coming into your star pose, really feel yourself ground from the pelvis into both feet, four corners, three arches, and bend your left knee out over your left ankle. Don't go forward of the left ankle. And still feel for a balance between your right hand and your left. Awareness of the right side body and the left. Spine lengthening right out of the pelvis skyward. And turn your palms up and in. And exhale. Drawing energy through the Sushumna channel. Fluid breath. Feel into your balance in this pose. And if you feel your feet are balanced and your balance is solid, and if not, notice what is throwing you off balance and straighten your legs. Now, take the front foot back towards the back edge of your mat and the back foot forward towards the front edge of your mat. So we're moving, we're widening the pose so that your back foot goes towards the front edge, long edge of your mat, and the pinky toe goes to the back, long edge of your mat. So your legs are now at more of a diagonal. And open your arms into star pose and bend the knee out over your second metatarsals again. See if for you it's easier to open the front knee towards the second metatarsal in this position. And if for you the balance is more comfortable in the pelvis. For some people taking this wider stance, oftentimes we line heel up with heel. In this stance, your front heel should not run into the back heel. It should just run straight back behind the foot. This may help you find more balance. And it may be that your balance is somewhere in between the two, or that you felt really good heel to heel. Find the balance that's right in your body And remember, we're all unique. So if your teachers really help each student find the balance, and then bring the left hand to the left femur, right arm alongside the ear, and from the pelvis, shine down into the legs, rooting them, and shine up through the spine, and then come to your forearm. Strong in your Parsvakonasana, rooting the four corners of each foot, lifting the three arches, creating stability from pelvis down so you can lengthen the spine out of the pose. Feel into lining up your focal points, pelvis to heart to palate, and come back to your three-dimensional breath. Feel into your posture and float yourself back up, Virabhadrasana 2 to Dancing Warrior. Back fingers light on the back leg. Keep strength along all sides of the spine. Support the back spine from the front. Let the side spines lengthen. You've got that core strength now and awareness all the way up through the neck. Lift the base of the skull. And remember, you can always come back towards upright if you feel any strain. Shoulder girdle broad, pelvis broad. Float back up to your Virabhadrasana 2. Let your gaze rest on the horizon. Let your eyes rest back in their sockets. Your head rest back over the spine. And straighten the front leg and turn it in. And turn the right leg out. Open your arms, star pose, and bend your knee. Feel for a balance of energy from the pelvis into each rooting leg. A lot of times people lean forward into the front leg and then the spine leans forward as well. Try to keep the spine upright out of the pot of the pelvis. Feel into your balance and decide if you want to move your feet. The front foot towards the back of the mat, the back foot, the long leg towards the front of the mat. Find a great balancing pose for yourself here in Virabhadrasana 2. Turn your palms up and inhale and exhale. Can you draw balanced energy into your left and right nostrils? Through the Ida left and Pingala right energy channels. Can you picture that energy moving through the double helix? Sending energy into the smaller rivers and streams of energy through the body. And then rest your right hand on the right femur, left arm alongside the ear. Lengthen both sides of the spine as you root the legs and come into your chosen pose. Fluid breath. Still feeling into balanced energy through the four corners of the feet. Relaxing broad across the shoulder girdle so the neck can lengthen. We root the feet and float back up and into our dancing warrior. Broad across the shoulder girdle. Long in the spine, supporting the spine from all angles out of the pot of the pelvis, which is really grounded and earthy. And then float back to your Vira 2, resting your eyes back in their sockets. Three-dimensional breath. Feeling into a balancing of the pose. Feeling into your body in this present moment. And straightening the front leg and turning it in. Let's step together, mountain pose. And again, lean forward towards your toes and roll back towards your heels to the point the toes, maybe even the balls of the feet lift. Notice, are you plugging in the inner and outer heel and roll forward towards your toes again and roll back towards your heels and then place all four corners under you. Lengthening the spine skyward, shoulder blades on the back, heart lifting. Hug in the banks of your river and lift to one toe. And staying broad across pelvis and shoulder girdle, your focal points lined up, lift the knee and feel into your ability to balance this morning. And then feel into your reaction to that. And release the foot and ground and root it and lift to the other toe. And hug in the banks of your river. Lift through the pelvic floor all the way up to the palate. And see, can you lift the knee? Three-dimensional breath into the torso. Where can you create integrity in the pose? And step down. Pause in your mountain pose. Feel into where you could release efforts and come into awareness of Santosha. Where you could rebalance yourself, activating tapas, that burning desire to unfold into your full potential. How do you balance tapas and santosha? And then bring in two blocks. This is something I don't believe I've done with this group. We'll place the two blocks one behind the other. Here, I'll do it off my mat so you can see better. And you're placing them just a few inches apart, just really the width of the arch of your foot. And then you're going to step your feet onto your blocks so that your heels are on one block and your ball mounds are firmly on the other. But the arch of your foot, so it may be a few inches distance, is open, okay? So as you step up, be careful, look around the room, make sure there's nothing you'll trip on if you come off the blocks. Step up onto your blocks in your best Tadasana possible. Heels under your sit bones. And feel into the two corners at your heel, inner and outer heel. Feel into the big toe and pinky toe ball mound. And lift your toes, lift your arches. Feel the space underneath your arches. Both the inner arch and the outer arch. The medial inner arch and the lateral outer arch. And relax your toes. Now feel into your knees and check in that you're not hyperextending them. Check into the pelvis, resting back. The greater trochanter lining up with your ankle. And then find your focal points, pelvis to heart to palate. And let yourself lengthen up out of your pose. Fluid breath. And invite the breath to fill the whole circumference of your torso. And relax on the exhales. And visualize the energy moving into the Ida and Pingala channels. And see if you can be content resting here in this moment, aware of the four corners of your feet and the breath. Aware of the space beneath your arches. aware of the focal points floating one above the other. And then step back down off your blocks and come back into your mountain pose. Feel into finding the four corners of your feet and still try to feel the spaciousness beneath your arches. And lift to one toe. And turn the knee out as if coming into tree pose. Bring your arms up into your cactus position. And integrate the arms towards midline, the pelvis towards midline, and see, can you lift the foot onto your calf? And stay strong in the four corners of your standing foot, aware of the arches and the strength the arches need to support you. Breathing up the focal points, supporting the floating focal points with the banks of your river. Balancing santosha, contentment, and tapas, the burning desire to grow and unfold to your full potential in this work. And then bring the knee forward and step down and root the next foot. And lift the knee, lifting to your toe, and turn the knee out and hug in the banks of your river and integrate and find as much balance as you can in the body before lifting the foot. And even if tree pose is easy for you, can you feel into each of your four corners, your two arches, your standing knee, your standing pelvis, the focal points, and your breath? Can you become really aware and alive in this present moment? And bring the knee forward and step down. And roll both shoulders up, down, and back. And inhale, both arms skyward, and stretch the left arm away from the left foot, and then the right arm away from the right foot. And inhale the stretch. And exhale the relax. And inhale. And exhale. Feel into both the inhale and the exhale. The movement of energy through the body, the stretching of the fascia towards balance. Root both feet. Stretch both hands skyward. And exhale, release your arms and roll your shoulders. And bring your hands to your wall and walk your hands high, wide, and come up onto the front two corners of your feet. Come onto the metatarsal arch, lifting your heels, and slowly lower the heels, lengthening the lumbar spine, lengthening the thoracic spine of the rib cage, and then finally, as heels touch, feel your arches. Broaden your shoulders and lengthen the neck, and walk back, pelvis away from arms. Come onto your fingertips on the wall. Remember, you don't have to come to parallel. Come into your half dog and inhale your cow and exhale your cat, and become aware of the front of your spine and the back of your spine. And inhale into that front body representing individuality and that back body representing community. Breathe into the balance of these two sides. Coming into your neutral spine, broad across the shoulder girdle. Float one leg up behind you, Virabhadrasana 3. Standing strong on your four corners, lifting the three arches. See if you can float to less weight on your fingertips. Strong along the front spine, focal points aligned, pelvis, heart, and palate. Feel into a balance of effort and contentment. So the mind doesn't over effort, Breathe into the mind. It's okay wherever we are, we're working, we're growing. And exhale, release, stepping forward. Hands shoulder height. Root your tail and inhale, lift the heart. Standing cobra. Isometrically draw down with the hands to help you lengthen all sides of the spine, rooting into the four corners of the feet. Feel the space beneath your arches. Fluid breath up the length of the spine, feeling into earth and inviting sky between the vertebrae. Exhale, come back to standing and lift the arms again up the wall and slowly lower the heels down to the floor, stretching the spine long, inviting space between the vertebrae, balancing space and compression. We walk back into our half dog again. Long spine, supported by slings of fascia beneath the spine. We activate our front abdominal core and float the next leg up, rooting the four corners of the standing foot. Balanced lift to the arches. We may be able to come off the front fingers, balancing our awareness of pelvis, heart, and palate for a long spine. Fluid, three-dimensional, balanced breath. We step down and step forward. Hands, fingertips at shoulder height. We inhale, another standing cobra. Rooting the tail, we lift the heart. From the shoulder blades, we help lift the rib cage and we lengthen the spine, imagining someone has their hand at the base of our skull and they're gently tractioning, helping us to lengthen the neck. We root from outer hip into outer heel. We lift inner arch through the pelvic floor up the sides of the spine. And exhale, release. Turn your back to the wall and bring your humerus bones right against the wall, resting the head back. Again, aligning pelvis, heart, and palate. Broad across the shoulder girdle and pelvis. Press the whole length of the humerus bone back, aware of opening across the shoulders. And notice if you tend to go right into 100% of work, come out a little. Practice the santosha part of the balance. Contentment with working at a level where you can really feel into the body and not overwork. Because when we let go of over-efforting, we may actually find more awareness in this present moment. We may be able to root deeper into our feet. Breathe deeper into our torso. And from our roots, lengthen our spine and lift the heart to meet the day. Balanced energy across the collarbones and back at the head of the arm bone. We gently stretch open the pec minor. We realign the posture, palate resting back over heart, over pelvis. And come back out to stand in the center of the room on our mats, feeling into the body now. Balancing ourselves front to back, balancing the weight into our feet side to side. Fluid breath. And grounding into one foot, lift to the toe of the other. Hug in the banks of the river, lift through the pelvic floor up to the palate and float the knee up. Lift the arms into your cactus position. And see, can you open the knee out to the side? Pausing, lifting through the pelvic floor, lengthening to the palate. We bring the knee forward and step down and roll the shoulders before rooting the next foot and lifting to the next toe, lifting the arms and hugging in the banks of the river. We root the four corners of the foot and lift the knee. And if we'd like to, open the knee to the side, still hugging in the banks and lifting through the pelvic floor. And bring the knee back and step down. Mountain pose. Balancing front to back at the pelvis and the heart and the palate. Can you relax into Santosha, into awareness of this very important pose? Can you fine-tune the pose towards comfort and ease? And then let's step the feet wide again. And remember this idea of one foot can be more forward and back. The right foot farther back, the front foot farther forward, side to side on your mat. Open into your star pose. We're coming into Trikonasana. But let's do it without a block behind us today. Let's use our own body. And let's be light as we come down onto our arm. Lengthen the spine and rooting evenly into both legs. Stop partway along the way and really find the length of both sides of the spine. Balanced energy in at the shoulder girdle and become a star. Feel into the work you're doing on the upper side of the spine. Rooting from the pelvis, exhale back up. Lengthen the spine and root the four corners. And again, lengthen out, lengthening the spine, both sides. Perhaps you come a little lower. Perhaps the bottom hand can come to the shin. Perhaps not. Perhaps you'd rather just lengthen out high. Keeping that spine long from pelvis to heart to palate. Rooting from the hips into both feet. The four corners balanced, the three arches lifting. Take a deep inhale and exhale through pursed lips, activating your pelvic floor, your transverse abdominis, and float back up. And turn the right leg in, or the left leg in and right leg out, and inhale, open your arms. And root from the pelvis into your four corners of each foot and lengthen the spine out and pause part way. And check in that your knees aren't hyperextending, that the leg bones are balanced and the spine is long. Breathe sky between the vertebrae, even here. How does your core support the lengthening spine? And exhale back up and lengthen the spine skyward here, rooting into both legs. And again, side bend towards your Trikonasana. Keep that length and strength in the spine as you come down so we don't flop easily into the pose we know. Check in with your standing arm elbow, that you're not hyperextending and that arm is really connected into the shoulder girdle. And from the pelvis, root into the legs, lengthening the spine. Breathe into the three dimensions of your torso. Fluid breath. And use your breath. Use the exhale to activate your pelvic floor and transverse abdominis. You could exhale through pursed lips as you float back up and turn in the right leg and step the feet together, balancing in mountain pose. Balancing front body to back, side to side, resting in Santosha. Let's bring one block in to the pinky toe side of the left foot. Coming into our Garuda Asana, step the foot part way up the block and inhale. Lift to the left foot or lift one foot, the right foot, and exhale, touch down. And inhale, lift, and exhale, touch, and come into your flying eagles. Block on the outside of the left foot. Yeah, good, Deb. Inhaling up and exhaling. Feel into how you balance in movement. What happens to the four corners of the standing foot? Does movement help or make it harder to find balance? And then as you're ready, inhale that right leg up and over. Step the foot onto the block, bending your standing knee. Hug the legs together and bring the right arm over the left. You can either come back of hand to back of hand or cross at the elbows. Taking the elbows away from the torso and fingers skyward. Take a deep three-dimensional inhale. Can you breathe into the back of the heart here? And grounding on your standing foot, see if you can release a weight from the block under the crossed over leg. Fluid breath, hugging in the banks of the river, supporting the length of the spine. Perhaps your elbows want to come down towards your pelvis. Like an eagle ready to dive off a cliff, release your arms and inhale, lift your wings and land, mountain pose. Three-dimensional breath into the mountain, into both the Ida and Pingala channels. Take the block across to the right side. Make sure your foot isn't all the way up along the block. The block is forward of the standing foot. And we inhale into our flying eagle. Fluid breath. Can you be aware of the four corners of the standing foot, the lifted three arches, and invite a smooth, easy, effortless flight? Can we come into not over-efforting here? And then inhale, the left leg up and over, hugging the legs together. Bring the right arm over the left and come into your chosen eagle arms. And feel into grounding the four corners of the standing foot. Perhaps work on lifting the arches by lifting the toes before you release pressure from the left foot on the block. And then play into feeling your balance. What helps? Does hugging into the midline help? Does lengthening the column of the spine help? Does coming back into breath help? Elbows release towards the torso. The wings unfurl and lift, and we land, mountain pose. Fluid breath. Breathing into the back side of the body. Breathing into the side waists. Breathing into the front heart. Okay, let's next come to Ardha Chandrasana. You can bring in your chair or you can bring in your block or both. Let's do this pose twice. So you may want to try it against a wall once and try it out in the room once. It's totally up to you. I recommend trying it high and then coming lower because I think people can find more length and balance in the spine. Remember that like the feet we worked with in the standing poses, how we opened them up, the hand, as you come onto the front foot, the hand that is forward of the foot can be back behind the pinky toe side. So you have a diagonal of energy that helps you balance. Remember, you're wanting to lengthen from hip crease to armpit as you lift up and come onto the forward arm. And then place your lifted hand onto your pelvis today and really feel a connection from pelvis down into the four corners of the standing foot. Lift the arches of the feet back up towards the palm that's pressing on the hip. And then unfurl the arms skyward, opening the body. Fluid breath. The lifted foot, toes can point straight forward out from the body. And you can lengthen from the lengthened leg through the top of the head, lifting through the pelvic floor. Find your shoulder blades on the back. And perhaps whatever prop you're on, you can come to fingertips. And now really hug in from the bottom side of the spine, supporting it. And perhaps you can almost lift the weight off the fingers, strengthening the spine. And then bring your hand back to your hip. And with grace, step down out of the pose. Beautiful, Deb. Beautiful, Mira. Fluid breath. Okay, let's try the other side, and then we'll try it one more time. Can you stay present with yourself as you lift in and set the intention for a good foundation for your pose? Top hand on the hip, and as you lift one hip towards over the other, now not all hips will open that far. Put a little pressure on the top hip down into the four corners of the standing foot. Feel into the lifting arches up towards the pelvis, towards the hand on the hip. And then once you have that foundation set, unfurl the arm. And draw in to the shoulders. And if you'd like, lift to the fingers. Can you integrate the pose and here still balance the tapas, that burning desire to grow and transform, with a contentment in the pose, with a release of over-efforting? And perhaps then you can float to release tension off the fingers and then bring hand back to the hip and float out. Turning your feet forward and pausing in your mountain pose. Fluid, three-dimensional breath. Okay, let's try one thing before we come back into the pose. Your poses look beautiful, but I'm just trying to help you wake up different aspects of the pose. So just come to the wall with your hand on your wall and turn your fingers like you're turning a mason jar. Just turn your hand back slightly. Okay, not too much, just a little bit. And then lean into the hand on the wall a little bit and draw the hand down towards the floor isometrically. So your hand's on the wall and you're pulling down slightly. Can you see me, Mira? So if my hand were on the wall, I'd be pulling down slightly. And see if you can feel the musculature in the side body waking up. You feel that, Sherry? Yeah. And really feel that outer shoulder blade and integrate that arm on the wall into the side body and lift your other wing. And see if you can find that same awakeness on the other side, even though it's not on the wall. Can you activate that arm down and wake up that energy? And release. And then turn around. Try the other hand on the wall, leaning into it. Draw the arm down isometrically. It doesn't move on the wall, but it activates the musculature. Now you can also draw it slightly back, or slightly forward, or even up. But then draw down again, because I think that's the most active, and lift the arm out, the other arm, and activate that side as well. Notice how as you wake up those side bodies, you can hug in the banks of your river. Make sure you're not hyperextending your elbows. And release and roll your shoulders. And then let's come into our half moon pose again with these side bodies awake. I love this, waking up the body as much as we can in the present moment. So you all came into it beautifully. I don't feel like you need direction there. And you all had really nice length between your hip crease and your armpit, which is short for a lot of people who come into this pose. So come into the pose again and see if waking up those side bodies helps you. Hand to the hip, unfurling the arm, integrating. Both side bodies long and strong. Your legs are nicely awake. Activate through the pelvic floor, lengthening all sides of the spine, pelvis, heart, and palate in line. And then remember to balance in the Santosha. And hand comes back to the hip as you're ready. You bend the standing knee a little and float out. Beautiful. Taking your time, Deb. Beautiful. Fluid breath. Beautiful strength in your pose, Mira. Yeah. All right. Let's try the other side. Lay your intention with thought. And it's hard to keep that front foot sometimes forward, but we like to because that helps us align the knee and into the hip joint. So stay aware of that alignment. Really root the four corners of your foot. And then the hip spins open. We activate that lower side body. You can even isometrically hug the block down towards the foot a little to wake that side body up, if that makes sense. And then you unfurl your wingspan. And from the pelvis, reach out. Fluid breath. Finding the Santosha in the pose. The breath. And then the hand comes down. And the knee bends and we float out of the pose. And as we're ready, come back to mountain. A fluid, three-dimensional breath through both the Ida and Pingala channels. Breathing in sun energy and moonlight. Breathing in the heat of summer and the cool that can come in the evenings. Breathing in the sunny and the cool sides of the mountain. We balance both. Now lean gently forward towards your toes and feel into big toe and pinky toe ball mounds and the transverse arch between them. And now lean back onto your heels and balance your energy into the inner and outer heels. And come back to neutral over your spacious arches. And ask yourself, how can I balance tapas with Santosha? Okay. I'd like us now to release down to the floor. Please bring in 2 blocks if you have them. If you don't, you can use one. And what I'd like you to do is just bring your blocks under your sacrum like this so they support you. And then you may want to turn up to medium. So then you just fold the blocks together or up to high. Okay. And then you may want blankets or whatever you might need for Shavasana. And come onto the floor and come into your supported bridge. And as you get your sacrum settled on the low blocks, release your heart away from the sacrum, creating space in the spine. And then lift your head a little and lengthen the neck, keeping your cervical curve. And relax your hands onto your belly. And breathe deep into the torso. And as you feel the belly lift into the hands, invite the back body to open as well. The side waist to expand. Breathing through both the Ida and Pingala channels to nurture the body. You can stay here, or you can fold your blocks together and come to medium. And rest there a moment, stretching the psoas. Fluid breath. Relaxing on your exhales. You can stay here or fold the blocks up under your pelvis to high. And from here, we'll float one leg skyward and then the other, whatever height you've landed at. Let your knees be soft, your feet above your knees, legs up the sky. And tune back into the three-dimensional breath. Balancing your energies, sun and moon, fire and water. And feel into the toes as they release the blood and perhaps they themselves get cool. See if you can feel the energy of the blood and lymph releasing through the feet and down the legs. Back towards the groins where the lymph gets cleansed through the lymph nodes. And notice if you feel the blood filling neck and head. Nourishing oxygenated blood flowing easily towards the thyroid and the parathyroid and the pituitary and pineal glands. In this present moment, can you feel life force pulsing inside you? Knowing we exist because this eternal energy runs through us. If you feel relaxed and supported here, you can stay here. If you'd like to gently bring your legs down one at a time and release into a simple Shavasana, please do so. As you gently deepen your breath, feel the breath move through both channels, both nostrils. And then gently stretch in whatever way your body calls for. The body constantly moving itself towards homeostasis, towards balance. Take your time, stretching and perhaps resting on one side. And if you'd like to stay in Shavasana, feel free to do so. And then slowly, if you're coming up, bring yourself up out of your Shavasana into a comfortable seat. Again, feel into the earthy connection, seat and legs into the earth, so the spine can rise skyward. And for a moment, sway forward. and then sway back and find that balancing point, pelvis to heart to palate. Let's inhale our hands to our hearts. May our awareness of balance in the practice help us to bring balance into our daily lives. Namaste. Thank you for coming to class.